Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to continue with chapter number 5, that is basic behavioral modeling. In last session, we have started with the use cases and use case diagrams with stereotypes. In that we have seen introduction related to behavioral modeling and dynamic behavior of the system. Then we have seen use cases, features of use cases and purpose of use case. Then what a good use case is, we have seen that what is good use case, that should be easy to understand, unambiguous, complete, including all alternate flows. Then how to identify actors and use cases from the definition, that is noun is the use case diagrams may be the object or classes that are the actors, or use case means verbs that can be behavior that the object poses. Then do's and don'ts for the use cases. Then we have seen about use case diagrams. What is use case diagrams? What are the purpose of use case diagrams? Then how to design that use case model for that, the actors, use cases, associations, system boundary we have seen. We have seen the notations for use cases, that is actor, for use case, association and system boundary. And we have seen one example for use case diagrams, and we have also seen that relationships for use case diagrams. Now we are going to start with the interaction diagram. Here from the name interaction, it is clear that the diagram is used to describe some types of interaction among the different elements in the model. There are different elements in that model. That that interaction between that element, interaction between that element, that is the for that is interaction for that interaction diagram. Interaction between different elements in interaction diagrams. So this diagram shows the interaction or behavior of that objects, that interaction or we can say communication, that are ordered based on the time or in the sequence of executions. So interaction diagrams are models that describes how a group of objects interact, how group of objects interact or collaborate in some behavior, typically using a or in a single use case. That is interaction diagram. Then what is the purpose of interaction diagram? To capture dynamic behavior of a system. Then to describe the message flow in the system, we have to capture the dynamic behavior of a system, and through use case diagram it describes, sorry, in interaction diagram it describes the message flow in the system. Then to describe structural organization of the objects, then to describe interaction among objects. Then forms of interaction diagrams. There are two types of interaction diagrams. This interactive behavior is represented in UML by these two diagrams, that is sequence diagram and collaboration diagram. These are the two forms or two types of interaction diagram. Then how to draw that interaction diagram? So the purpose of interaction diagrams are to capture the dynamic aspect of a system. We have seen in first slide what is the dynamic behavior of the system. Okay. So the purpose of that interaction diagrams are to capture the dynamic aspect of a system. So dynamic aspect can be defined as the snapshot of the running system at a particular moment. At a particular moment, whenever we are going to run that system, through that, these are the interaction between the users or that system. We can take the snapshot of that running system at a particular moment of that design. This is the dynamic aspect of a system. So these are the things that we have to identify clearly before drawing that interaction diagrams. Here first we have to identify like objects taking part in the interaction. What are the objects that are going to take part in that interaction diagrams? Then message flows among that objects, message flow between that number of objects. Then the sequence in which the messages are flowing, sequence of messages, sequences of that messages are flowing from one objects to another. Then object organization. These are the things we have to identify whenever we are going to draw that interaction diagram. Then see interaction diagrams. It shows an interaction, that is a set of objects and their relationships. Interaction means set of objects and their relationships, including exchange messages or behavior of the objects. In interaction diagrams, there is a set of objects and their relationships that includes exchange of messages or behavior between that objects. There are two kinds of interaction diagrams we have seen earlier, that is sequence diagram and collaboration diagram. So sequence diagram describes how objects interact and communicate with each other, how that objects are going to interact with each other and how they are going to communicate with each other. This is sequence diagram. That sequence diagram primarily focus on time. Then it shows how a sequence of messages are sent and received between a set of objects in order to perform some function. That there is a sequence of messages that are that are sent or received between the number of objects in order to perform some action or some function. That is sequence diagrams. And in collaboration diagrams, it describes how objects interact, how objects are going to be interact with each other. Their focus is on space relationship between objects. Focus is on space relationship between the objects. So these are the two types of interaction diagrams: sequence diagram and collaboration diagram. Okay, so first we will see sequence diagram. So sequence diagram describes interaction among classes in terms of exchange of messages over time. So it describes the flow of messages, events, actions between number of objects. An important characteristics of sequence diagram is time passes from top to bottom. Time passes from top to bottom. Time is important thing in sequence diagram. The time passes from top to bottom and model important runtime interactions between parts that make up the system, typically used to document and understand the logical flow of the system. The objects that participate in an interaction is identified and placed at the top of the diagram. That objects are placed at the top of the diagram in sequence diagram. That is x-axis. Yes, there are some key parts of sequence diagrams like objects, lifelines, messages, activation bar. Here you can see the participants. Participant means object or entity that acts in the diagram. There are several participants like objects. Objects means the instance in the systems. Objects are shown by the rectangles. The object and class names are separated by a colon, and it was underlined in that rectangle. Okay. And then next one is messages. Communication between participant objects. So messages means that communication between participant objects, and the axis in the sequence diagram, it may be horizontal or vertical. Horizontal means here which objects or participant is acting, and vertical means the time, that is down forward in time. These are some key parts of sequence diagram. So there are some dimensions in sequence diagrams like time and object. Here you can see the time. The vertical axis represents time. Whenever we are going to see that example of for sequence diagram, you will let to know that what is time, what is objects, what is lifeline, what is messages, what is activation bar. Okay. So the time, here the vertical axis represents time proceeding or progressing down the page. This is the time of that diagram. Here time in a sequence diagram is all about ordering, not a duration. It is not a duration like you have to complete this task within this that much time. This is not like that. This is the about ordering of that element or of that sequence. Okay. So the vertical space in an interaction diagram is not relevant for the duration of the interaction. Then next one is objects. Objects here, the horizontal axis shows the element. Horizontal axis contains the objects. Okay, objects that are involved in that interactions. Here you can see the example for sequence diagram for a make a phone call. Here, this is the horizontal axis and this is the vertical axis. Okay, so these are the objects: caller, phone, recipient. Okay, these are the objects, and here you can see this is the, what we can say, activation bar, or this is the lifeline. Okay, lifeline. Every object has a vertical dotted line here. Vertical dotted line, that is called as lifeline. That shows, this dotted line shows the time that object exists. Okay, and this is, yeah, you can say these dotted lines are the lifelines. Okay, these dotted lines are the lifelines. These are the objects, and here this arrow is the messages passes between that objects. Then activation bar, here these are the activation bar. Here, this one is the activation bar here. So that activation bar is a thin rectangle running down the lifeline that denotes the execution, occurrence, or activation bar. Here, this is the lifeline, this dotted line is the lifeline, these are the objects, and these are the this thin rectangle, that is activation bar here. So this is the horizontal axis and this is the vertical axis. This is the example of sequence diagram for make a phone call. Here you can see the caller, phone, and recipient. These are the objects. Here this kind of messages, plain arrow. Here you can see this is the synchronous message. Okay. So this is a synchronous message, and this dotted arrow indicates the return message. This is synchronous message. Sorry, this is asynchronous message, and this is a return message. The messages may be synchronous, asynchronous, and return message. We will see this later on. See this example first. Here, the caller picks up. Then that caller will picks up the phone. Okay, here you can see that activity started, picks up, and what picks up, phone. Then it will send the return message that dial the tone. Then caller will dial, and that ring will be generate series messages and the sequence of messages here. The recipient, caller and recipient, in between phone is there. So caller will pick the phone, then it will send the return message that dial tone, then caller will dial, then ring will be made here at recipient end. Recipients will pick up that call. See, this is the return message to phone. That phone will again send the return message to the caller, that ring notification. Okay, then the communication will be made between that caller and recipient. Then next one is objects. So we have seen that objects here. These are the objects. So object as well as classes can be targets on a sequence diagram, which means that messages can be sent to them. Here you can see the messages are sent to that objects or classes. We can say messages are sent to that objects or classes. Okay, then a target is displayed as a rectangle here, as a rectangle. These are the targets. Okay, that may be objects or classes, that's shown in that rectangle with some text in it here. These are the targets within some text, that may be objects or classes. Below the target, its lifeline extends for as long as the target exists. Here you can see this is the lifeline, that target exists as long as that target will be existed. So this is the lifeline. Then the lifeline is displayed as a vertical dash line here, vertical dash line. Okay, vertical dash line indicates the target or that lifeline. Then here see, you can see the basic notation for an object. Here you can represent the objects like name, colon, type. That this is the object, and here this vertical dotted line, vertical dash line indicates the lifeline for that object. Here you can see where name is the name of that object in the context of diagram, and type indicates the type of which object is an instance, or it may be the class or the object of that class. Underline here. Okay, so both name and type are optional here, but at least one of them should be present here. Okay, so this is the basic notation for an object. Then here you can see the example of objects here. Object name student, its type is not specified here. Then here you can see the colon student underline. This is the anonymous instance of type student. Okay, student is type here. And in this example, you can see yes colon student. So yes is the name and student is the type. Okay, so this is the example for objects. Then that there are multi objects are also there. So when we want to show how a client interacts with the elements of a collection, we can use multi objects. So see the notation for multi objects here, how we can give the, how we can note denote this multi objects here. You can say student colon student. See the notation for that multi objects. It is a collection of student instances. Student instances. The collection is named as students. Okay. So this is the example of multi object. Then lifeline in UML diagrams. In that interaction diagrams. In UML diagrams, such as a sequence or communication diagram. Here communication means collaboration diagrams. Previously it is known as collaboration, now it is known as communication diagrams. So in sequence or communication diagrams, lifeline represents the objects that participate in interactions. We have seen that lifeline here. This dotted, sorry, this dashed vertical line indicates the lifeline of that object. So that lifeline is named element which represents an individual participant in the interaction. Okay, so for example, in a banking scenario, lifelines can be represent object such as a bank system or customer, so that each instance in an interaction is represented by lifeline. So you see the lifeline in sequence diagrams here. You can see X colon class one. So this is the head of lifeline. This is the class one is the type of instance, and X is the name of that instance, and this dash vertical line is lifeline. Okay, so lifeline in a sequence diagram is displayed with the its name and type in a rectangle. Here you can see this here, which is called as head of that lifeline. So the head is located on the top of vertical dashed line here, that called, it's called as a stem, which represents the timeline for the instance of objects. So this is the example of lifeline in sequence diagram. Then next one is messages in sequence diagram. So that messages, or we can say signals on a sequence diagrams, are specified using an arrow from the participant, that is message caller, we can say, that wants to pass message from one participant to another, that is message receiver or sender. Here a message, or we can say stimulus, is represented as an arrow going from the sender to the top of the focus of control, that is execution occurrence of the message on the receiver's lifeline. Here you can see that we have seen that number of messages in sequence diagram, that making a phone call example is there. We have seen that. So first message type is synchronous message. Okay, so a synchronous message is used when the sender waits, see that, when the sender waits until the receiver has finished the processing, until that receiver has finished the processing the message, only then does the caller continue. A close and fill arrowhead, here you can see close and fill arrowhead signifies that the message is sent synchronously. Here sender is there and receiver is, these are the objects, or we can say targets. Then this is vertical dash line indicates that lifeline, and this is thin rectangle indicates that activation bar. Here synchronous message, that is, see how we can indicate the synchronous message with close and fill arrowhead. Okay, so that synchronous message means that sender has to wait until that receiver has to finish that activity. Okay, here you can see that an activation. So it will send the reply when that receiver finishes his activity, then it will send that return message. So this is the example of synchronous message. Then here you can see one example synchronous message. If you want to show that the receiver has finished processing the message and returns control to the center, sorry, controls to the sender, then draw a dash arrow. Here draw a dashed arrow from receiver to sender. Optionally, a value of that receiver returns to the sender can be placed near that return arrow. You can give the value or the message to that return arrow here. So if you want your diagram to be easy, then you can show that return arrow if that value is returned, otherwise you can hide it. Here you can see the example, sender is sending synchronous message to the receiver, and receiver process that message and sends the return value or return message to the sender. Here see this lifeline for sender and receiver, and that activation bar, that object is activated for that much time. Here that sender receiver is activated for this much time. Okay, so this is the example of synchronous message. See the example of synchronous message. Here one actor is there. Actors are also included in sequence diagrams. So here teacher is one of the actor, then web interface, then database wrapper. These are the objects for, these are the targets. Okay, so here see the lifeline for all these threes. Okay, so first teacher will log in into through that web interface, then it will web interface validate the user from this database wrapper. After validating, here you can see this is the synchronous message. So till now it is not verified, so it is not giving written message. So web interface again validate the user from that database wrapper. Now it sends the return message. Here you can see there is no message or return value here, so it hides that message. After that again web interface sends that return message to teacher that it's successful validation. Then again it sends one request that look up student information, that is synchronous message. Again it sends that web interface, again it passes that message to database wrapper that retrieves student information. Here this is synchronous message, then it will send the information to that teacher. Okay, this is the example for synchronous message. The next message is asynchronous message. Here, with an asynchronous message, the sender does not wait for the receiver. Sender does not wait for the receiver. Remember this, in synchronous message, sender has to wait for the receiver's call. Okay, for processing the messages at the receiver end. But in asynchronous message, sender does not wait for the receiver to finish processing the message. In synchronous message, sender has to wait till the receiver has to finish that processing. But in asynchronous message, sender does not wait for the receiver to finish the processing the message. It continues immediately. Your messages sent to the receiver in another process or calls that start a new thread, that are examples of asynchronous messages. Here you can see the example of asynchronous message. An open arrowhead, here you can see an open arrowhead is used to indicate that the message is sent asynchronously. Okay, then here you can see the example for asynchronous message. One customer is there, waiter, one of the object is waiter and shape is another object. See this vertical dash line is the lifeline, then activation bar. Here you can see customer will take the order. Okay, here waiter customer gives the order to waiter, that is take order. This is the synchronous message. Again see here, customer simultaneously send another request, that is drink order. So these are the two requests or two messages, two asynchronous messages passed to waiter object. Okay, that is synchronous. So that here customer does not wait for processing of that receiver send. It will simultaneously sends asynchronous messages to that object here. Then waiter will receive this order. Yeah, receive kitchen order to that chef. Chef will receive this order, and again waiter will greet new customer. That is another customer arrives. It will handle another customer. Okay, this is example for asynchronous message. Then another message type is instantaneous message. So messages are often considered to be instantaneous. Sorry, this messages, the time it takes to arrive at the receiver is negligible. Here you can see instantaneous message. Yeah, with the, yeah, with synchronous message here. Such messages are drawn as a horizontal arrow. Here you can see the horizontal arrow. This is instantaneous messages. Then also non-instantaneous messages are there. Sometimes these messages takes considerable amount of time to reach the receiver. It takes some times to reach that receiver. For example, a message across a network. Whenever we are going to send one messages, consider that we are sending messages at 9 a.m. and that messages reaches to the receiver at 9:15 or 9:30 because of that network. Okay, so such a non-instantaneous messages are drawn like a slanted arrow. Here slanted arrow, here you can see slanted arrow. This is non-instantaneous messages between that sender and receiver. See the example, customer sends the order and sales department receives this order at what time here. Then next one is a found message. Found message is a message of which the caller is not shown. In found message, caller is not shown. So depending on the context, this could mean that either the sender is not known, or that is it is not important who the sender was. So sender is not here, sender is not known here, okay, in found message. So here you can see the example of found message. The error of a found message originates from a field circle here. Field circle. So found message. See the receiver. Sender is not known here. Okay. So that error of that found message originates from the field circle. Okay. So here the exact sender is not known or not relevant to the interaction. So this is how we can give the found message in sequence diagrams. Here you can see sender is not present here or sender is not known. So this is found message, that is check email. That computer will check, then it will either processing for that send unsent email at the server. Okay, so these are all asynchronous. Sorry, this is all are the synchronous messages here. Okay, so this is the found message. Sender is not known here. Then next one is guards. Guards in sequence diagrams. So a message can include a guard. How it includes a guard? Which signifies that the message is only sent if a certain condition is met. If the certain condition is met, then only that messages are sent. Here the guard is simply that the condition between brackets. Here guard means whenever we are sending that messages, okay, here you can see whenever we are going to send that synchronous message, we can give a condition or some guards, that if that condition is satisfied, then only that message will be passes. Okay, that message is only sent if that condition meets. Okay, so the guards are used throughout the UML diagrams to control the flow. This is all about guards. Here, see the example for sequence diagrams for issuing book. Here, librarian is there. These are the targets at horizontal axis, and at vertical axis, lifeline and activation bar is there. So librarian is there, book, member record, and transaction. These are the objects of for this sequence diagram for issuing the book. Here first, that librarian first action here, first sequence. See, check availability book. Librarian will check the availability of book. This is the synchronous message. Okay, so that that sender has to wait till this request will be processed. So that book object will what it will do? It will check for that availability of that book and send the response that book available. Here you can see in bracket book available. Okay. So next, at third part, that librarian will validate the member from that member record. Here you can see that synchronous message. Here now that member record will be activated. This object will be activated here. Then again it will check for the processing. Then again that librarian will send that check number of book issue for that particular member. Okay, now here again it will check for that member. Sorry, it will check the record of that member, that he has to issue that book or not. Then it will send the again one message to that librarian that book can be issued. Then it will send another message to that transaction. It will create the transaction here, so that librarian will add the member and the book details into that transaction or into that record. Then here you can see that librarian will update the book status for that book, and it will send another message to that member record that update the member record. So this is the simple sequence diagram for issuing the book. And then for returning, this sequence diagram is for returning book. So here librarian will validate the member. Sequence diagrams, we are having only four objects: librarian, book, member record, and transaction. Now for returning book, it will add a bill. Okay, so librarian will first validate that member from that member record. So here for after for that validating, it will activate that objects here. Okay, so then again here that processing will finish. Then librarian will get the details of that transaction, that here now the transaction will activated here and it will end here. Then librarian will get the member type from that member record. Then again here you can see it will create the bill for that particular member. Okay, so for that it is activated now. This is the activation bar. Now that librarian itself calculates that fine. If it is fine, this self message. Okay, so it would calculate the fine. Then now that librarian is activated. Okay, so it will add fine and member details and generates the bill. So that bill will be paid at the librarian. Then it will update the book status. Then book is activated here. Book object is activated and it will update that member record. Okay, so this is a sequence diagram for issuing book and returning the book. So these are some benefits of a sequence diagrams. That are sequence diagrams are used to explore any real application or a system. Then sequence diagrams are used to represent message flow from one object to another object. Message flow between one object to another objects. That sequence diagrams are useful. Then sequence diagrams are easier to maintain, easier to generate. Then sequence diagrams can be easily updated according to the changes within the system. If is there any changes in the system, we can easily update by using the sequence diagrams. Then sequence diagrams allows reverse as well as forward engineering. That reverse and forward engineering means we can make the changes. If is there any changes, we can easily change in that system. That sequence diagrams allows that. Okay, so these are some benefits of sequence diagrams. Then some drawbacks of a sequence diagram. So in this, sequence diagrams can become complex when there are too many lifelines are involved in the system. If there are several or multiple lifelines are there, then that sequence diagrams may be complex. If the order of message sequence is changed, if that sequence of messages, if the order of that messages or the sequence is changed, then we are getting incorrect results. That incorrect results are produced. Then each sequence needs to be represented using different message notations, which can be little complex. Each sequence needs to be represented using different message, that is synchronous, asynchronous, found message. Okay, we have seen that. Then the type of message decides the type of sequence inside the diagram. So this is the another drawback of sequence diagram, that the type of message decides the type of sequence inside that diagram. Okay, so next one is collaboration diagram. So the second interaction diagram is collaboration diagram. Okay, so it shows that collaboration diagram shows the object organization as seen in the diagram here. This is the object organization. We'll see this. In the collaboration diagram, the method call or that method call sequence is indicated by some numbering technique. Here, the numbering technique is used in collaboration diagram. Okay. So the number indicates how the methods are called one after another. That is sequence. Okay. That number indicates how that methods are called one after another. So we have taken the same order management system to describe that collaboration diagram. Okay. So that example is for order management system. Okay. So that method calls are similar to that of sequence diagram. That is the difference being the sequence diagram does not describe the object organization, whereas the collaboration diagram shows the object organization. In sequence diagram, they does not show the or they does not describe the object organization, but in collaboration diagram, it shows the object organization. So to choose between these two diagrams, emphasis is placed on the type of requirement. Based on the requirement, we are going to select that we have to pick up that which interaction diagrams we have to take in, that is collaboration or sequence. Okay, so if the time sequence is important, then the sequence diagram is used. That time sequence is important, at that time we can use that sequence diagram. Or if that if that organization is required, then collaboration diagram is used. Here you can see this example of collaboration diagram. This is initialization. Then so first initialization is there, then sequence of messages here. This is the object customer colon customer object, then sequence number. In collaboration diagrams, that sequence is indicated by numbering the messages or method calls. First send order, see the method send order. First order is send order method, customer will send the order, then order object will take that or confirm the confirm that order. Second method call is second message, this is the message or this is the method calls. That sequence is indicated by number. Then another object is special order. Here you can see third, that is dispatch. This is the self delegation here, special order, self delegation. Okay. Then at the end of process. So this is the example of collaboration diagram for order management systems. Remember that sequence is indicated here in by numbering the sequence or by numbering the messages or method calls. So see the difference between sequence diagram and collaboration diagram. Here in sequence diagrams, the sequence diagram represents the UML which is used to visualize the sequence of calls in a system that is used to perform a specific functionality. Sequence diagram is used for to visualize the sequence of calls in a system that is used to perform a specific functionality. Whereas collaboration diagram also comes under the UML representation, which is used to visualize the organization of the objects and their interaction. Here it is visualized for sequence of calls and it is visualized the organization of the objects. Then the sequence diagrams are used to represent the sequence of messages that are flowing from one object to another object. And in collaboration diagram, it is used to represent structural organization of the system and the messages that are sent and received. And in sequence diagram, it is used when time sequence is the focus is on time sequence, and collaboration diagram is used when focus is on object organization. Then here the sequence diagrams are better suited for analysis activities, whereas the collaboration diagrams are better suited for depicting the simpler interactions. Okay, this is the difference between sequence diagrams and collaboration diagrams. So that's it for today's session. We will stop here. Thank you.